Yourself?
I see myself as ugly as ever.
Where are we going and what are we doing?
We are going to the Corvallis Hospital to see if I'm going to kick for a day or two.
Water retention was so bad, it was literally leaking out of his ankles. My grandfather is in the hospital. In the summer of 2016, my grandfather fainted in a restaurant, fell and hit his head, and the ambulance was called by the restaurant owner, and they came and took him to the Corvallis Hospital. He was then diagnosed with heart failure, and they installed a pacemaker into him. Ever since he got his pacemaker installed, he's been doing great. However, here as of recently, at 81 and a half years old, he has really started to slow down. I started to notice a little bit of mobility issues and just an aging man, or so I thought. This last Thursday, my grandfather came over and was sitting in his vehicle in the driveway while all the kids were playing out on the street. As he was getting ready to leave, I reached into the truck, take him a big old belly hug and tell him I love him. And I reached down and I felt his leg, and I thought in my head, man, feels really, really hard for some reason, not soft and pliable like you would much feel of yourself. I then look down, and he always wears pants or overalls, and I see that his socks are showing about this much, and there's a yellow stain on his white socks. I looked at him, I was like, Pop, why is there a stain on your white socks? And he says, oh, my ankle's leaking. And when he said that, I proceeded to look back down at his ankle because he had a wound on one of his ankles that he had to go to a wound care specialist before back in the day. So my natural thought was to look and see if it was the same ankle. When I looked down, I seen that his other sock had a yellow stain on it. And I was like, Pop, both of your socks have yellow stains. What's going on? He looked at me and he said, I don't know, both of my ankles are leaking water. Come again?
Aye.
Let me see one of your legs.
Come on.
Really bad edema in his legs where his legs are leaking and he has bandages. So now, naturally, my brain goes, holy cow, stiff legs, edema. And I knew he had heart failure, so I quickly, while sitting in the window of his vehicle, just typed in edema, heart failure. It was late at night, the kids are, Daddy, watch me. And I was like, hold on, kids. Hold on a second, please. I tell my grandfather that he needs to go into urgent care immediately. And he says that his caretaker tomorrow should be able to take him. And so I was like, okay, let me go get these kids put away, get them put to bed, talk to the wife. You go home, figure out what's going on. I stay up late into the night, researching everything that I can, and have basically scared myself into tears. The next morning, this is Friday morning, Andrea had made him an urgent care appointment for his caretaker to go with him. On my way to work, I was kind of having a feeling about whether or not I should stay home from work and go with him. So I decided to make a call, and I called him and I said, hey Pop, how you doing? And he said, well, mentally, I'm doing pretty good, but physically, I'm not doing so good. And I was like, ugh. If you know him, he's never one to ask for help, and that was his very passive way of saying he's not okay. Immediately after getting off the phone with him, urgent care calls me, and they essentially said, this is not an urgent care need. Whatever you're doing right now, stop and go to the ER now. This could lead to a life-threatening issue or cardiac arrest. I ended up making a call to my boss, and I said, it's an emergency, I have to get off car right now, and I took my work truck back to the building after only being at work for an hour. Andrea was already on her way to pick him up, and we met at an intersection and made a phone call, pulled into the Baskin-Robbins parking lot, and we switched vehicles really quick so that she could go back and take care of the kids. I had the choice of going to the Albany Hospital or just going straight to Corvallis where all the cardiologists are. We roll into the ER and explain the entire situation, and the doctor who was working the ER floor was completely appalled. Somewhere he fell through the cracks with the Samaritan issues of people coming and going and doctors coming and leaving, and he had not been on any diuretics or any sort of heart medication for his heart failure. Once the ER doctor got him admitted, a cardiologist came down from the second floor to assess the situation to understand how long he might be hospitalized for. That doctor gave me a great wealth of information. He essentially said that he has 15 plus liters of fluid retention that they need to get off of him. And his body has entered into what they call third spacing. I think it's called third spacing. Essentially, there's so much water in his system that his heart starts to overcompensate. And so where your heartbeat and my heartbeat would be at 60 to 80 beats per minute at rest, his was at 105 to 130. And as soon as he would shimmy around, he'd be at 150 to 170 beats per minute. As of right now, he is hospitalized for 5+ days. They are giving him LASIK to get the water out of him, but they can only do it so fast, as if they were to do it any quicker, you could cause kidney and liver damage. You have to get healthy the same way you got sick. Once they get all the water out of his body, then they will be able to assess how much heart failure damage there is, and then hopefully put him on appropriate medication to extend his life as long as possible based on where his heart is with his valves, muscle, EKG, all of that stuff. In the moment of taking him over to the hospital, I always tend to keep a camera on me, whether I have a big camera or a point and shoot. I didn't know what we were going into, and good or bad moment, I just want to capture anything, whatever that may be, because you never know how important a video may be looking back if you never took it. So I reached back in my backpack, I grabbed my little point and shoot, I turned it on, and I handed the camera over to my grandfather, raw and in the moment, on our way over to Corvallis Hospital.
Don't know. I feel okay. It's just some of the body work don't work right like it used to.
How old are you?
I'm 81 and a half.
Your issues deal with your heart, right? Your heart's tired and weak.
They tell me my heart's tired of me.
You had a pacemaker put in, what was it, 8 years ago now?
I think it's been longer than that, but whatever. Had that put in and was off for a month, and then went back to work for another 6 or 7 years. And then I had my artery cleaned out, and then my cheeks turned red. Looked like an Indian.
Like a what?
Looks like an Indian. And I'm a German, not an Indian. Yeah, I got water running out of my leg. Pretty cool, like an artesian well. Who knows, maybe it won't come back, I don't know. We always hope I do. I got to ride that two-wheeler a few more miles. Not ready to give up yet. I'm a logger now.
No, not a logger. Vlogger. Is there any words of wisdom or anything on the top of your mind you feel like sharing into the camera that maybe someone like myself who's younger or anybody else who watches this video at whatever point?
Well, what I would say is, if you enjoy what you are doing, then give it your best. Because we're all going to come to this point in our life. Some of us good, some of us live this long, some of us don't. The main thing is just enjoy yourself while you can.
Scooter Bob out?
Scooter Bob out.
It is currently Tuesday, July 2nd. He has been in the hospital since Friday. I just talked to the doctors earlier, and they expect him to be in there through the holidays and possibly getting out Friday or Saturday with some more in-home care to take care of him afterwards. And right now things are stable, and they are still getting a lot of water off of him. I think so far they've somewhere around 15 or 20 pounds of water weight off of him. I think that's going to be it for today's video. It's just going to be a quick little sit down update on Pop's situation, because honestly that's what's going on in life right now. So I think it's real, it's raw, and that's what's going on. So that's what's going to be uploaded today, and forgive me for the thumbnail. Apologize for that one.